It's the spring, it's time for all things new, and for 4 in 10 people, that could mean a new job. About 40% of Americans say they plan to start the job search before June. Skills-based hiring is growing. It's less about titles and more about abilities. AI is also helping to reshape what employers want. So we're so excited to have Stephen Trad with us here today. He's the regional director at Robert Half. And Stephen, you are a hiring and consulting expert. So let's get it right off the top. What are employers looking for right now?
Hey, Caitlin, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So employers are just looking for um, really they're focusing on skills-based hiring, as you mentioned before, right? So 48% of workers right now are learning how to use AI tools to make themselves more competitive in the market. Well, about 40% are either taking online courses or they're participating in company training. And I will also say there's one thing that those who are looking for work right now aren't doing, and it's taking advantage of a mentor. Only about 10% of those looking for work are taking advantage of finding someone who can help them and guide them through that whole job search process.
Oh, that's a really good point. Mentorship is so important and it really helps you take the next step in your career. Why is now, though, the time people are stepping? What is it with the spring that makes people want to look for a new job?
Well, with all the pollen out there, right, we're cleaning our houses. So why
Yes.
not clean things up to find work as well and start something new? We're feeling a little bit of movement in the market. It's still, a more challenging time than more recent times to find work. But the hiring environment is getting a little bit better out there. So I think people are feeling that. They're ready for a change. So yeah, it's an exciting time to take advantage of the increasing number of open positions out there here in the Atlanta market.
That's a great point. What is it about AI that people are leaning into or learning when it comes to the workforce right now? What skills do people need to have to be competitive?
Well, Caitlin, it really depends on what your actual industry is, right? I think when we're talking about AI and finding a job, just to pivot a little bit, a lot of folks are using AI for their job search, right? So, a few tips that I would recommend when you're using AI for your job search is first off, let's just make sure that if you're using AI to help you with your resume, that AI doesn't change the information that's on your resume. We're seeing that a lot. Sometimes AI will like to embellish, make things look a little bit different than what you've actually done in your career. The other piece is a lot of employers are seeing very similar resumes, and that's because you're using AI, it's tailoring your resume, and then everyone's look the same. So what you should be doing is using the AI to do a little buff and shine on your resume itself. And then based on your skill set, highlight key areas on how your AI skills are making you a more efficient worker. We're not seeing AI take people's jobs, but what we tell a lot of the candidates that we interview is if you don't get on the AI train, you're gonna get left at the station.
Yeah. It's important to know, but you don't want to lean on it too heavily. That makes sense to me. Do job
100%.
seekers need to be tech experts at this point?
I mean, like I said, depends on the type of role that you're in. It's kind of like if we think 20 plus years ago, the internet became a really big thing. You need to be proficient enough for whatever industry that you're in. So you don't need to understand code or vectors, right? If you're not an IT person, but you should be strong enough in AI where you can use it to make yourself the most efficient employee as possible. And then when you're interviewing, you need to be able to talk about how you're utilizing AI to make yourself efficient. Are you utilizing it to Excel maybe, right? If you're a big Excel user, are you utilizing the AI skills in Excel to take less time to do things? Are you utilizing it to proofread, right? How is it making you more efficient? I think that's the most important thing right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. What's one thing job seekers should be doing right now to see that they can stand out when they go to apply?
Number one thing is you don't want to have a generic resume. Having that catch-all resume ultimately is going to it's going to basically cause you to get immediately discarded. You want your resume to be tailored to the role that you're applying to. So going back to AI, you can use AI to help tailor your resume. Go back and proofread, make sure that it's not changing anything on your resume, but just tailoring that resume to the specific role, it'll really help you stand out. And just to add a second thing for you, Caitlin, it's just having any sort of quantitative data on your resume where you maybe save time, save money, streamline a process. Numbers jump on a resume.
Oh, Oh, that's a great tip. I don't think I've heard that one before, so I really like that. What are Atlanta area employers really prioritizing this spring?
Um, it's finding people who can leverage whatever those skills are, right? So, I hate to keep going back to my point. This depends on your industry, but just across the board, we're seeing pretty broad hiring across all different areas. I will say one thing though, in your job search, uh, all of us need to do a little refresh on our LinkedIn profiles. You want to make sure your LinkedIn profile matches your resume. You want to make sure that your LinkedIn picture looks like you. It's professional. It's not a selfie like this or a picture from a wedding. And you just want to make sure the information is accurate, because what employers are doing is they're looking at your resume and then they're finding you on LinkedIn and they're matching your resume to your LinkedIn profile. You don't want to be in a situation where it says that you have a degree on LinkedIn, but you're actually still in school on your resume. So just making sure that the information matches, just across the board.
What industries are hiring the most in Atlanta right now?
We're seeing a lot in the IT space, healthcare, nonprofit. I would say those are probably the top three at this time.
That's great. If someone wants to make a career move before summer, what should they be prioritizing?
That's a really great question, Caitlin. I think just getting yourself out there, networking and connecting with people is the best way to find a job. It's all about who you know, right? So if you're not going to leverage a staffing company to help connect you with employers across the city, I would recommend joining a networking group that aligns with whatever your skill set is. You're going to meet people, go to it multiple times, get yourself, make yourself uncomfortable, get out there, shake people's hands, have conversations. The people who are talking to people are those who are finding work. It's almost the opposite of what we've seen over the past 5 or 10 years, where everything has gone digital. We're going back to that space where it's get in front of people, have conversations, and you might learn some things too, because a lot of these networking events have a lot of educational aspects to them as well. So that's what I'd recommend.
Very cool. Is there one thing, lastly, that people do that makes you cringe or say, like, don't do that if you're applying for a job? What's the number one mistake that you see people making?
Oh, geez. I'll just tell you my personal, the thing that I wish people would stop saying is that they're a quick learner, right? Instead of saying that you're a fast learner, explain something that you've done in the past where you can show, hey, I learned how to do X and then applied it, and then here was the result. So yeah, a lot of people say I'm a quick learner, I'm a fast learner. Try that instead. Show the person that you're interviewing with, explain to them, give them examples of something that you've done that you're proud of. That shows you're a fast learner.
This gentleman did everything right. He was exercising, he was eating well, and yet he still suffered a major heart attack. And now doctors are saying that there is a hidden genetic risk out there that could be affecting 1 in 5 people. Let's talk more about that with heart attack survivor Chuck Lane and cardiologist Dr. Ijeoma Isiadencio from Emory Healthcare. We appreciate you both taking some time this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Chuck, I want to start with you. You say you were doing all the right things. What went through your mind when doctors said you had a heart attack?
Well, I didn't really have much time to react. I'd actually just left the gym and I had a major heart attack. Excuse me, had a major heart attack in which one of the arteries in my heart was completely 100% blocked. It's commonly called the widowmaker. And so it was kind of one of those things that blindsided me. I'd always worked out my entire life. I ate right, I didn't smoke, and my job was physical. So I had no answers as to why I might have had this heart attack, but luckily, a couple of months after my heart attack, my primary care physician ordered the lipoprotein A test to be included with my normal blood work, and it came back elevated. So at that point, I had something to go on why I had this heart attack in the first place.
And so you were able to learn that it was a genetic factor. Had you ever heard of that before, and what came next?
No, and I'd worked in healthcare, so I was familiar with different things, but I'd never heard of lipoprotein A. Next came the research, starting to try and look and see what I could find out about it, and it was not very good until I came across the Family Heart Foundation's website. I reached out to one of their care navigators who kind of guided me and gave me information on what I could do going forward. And so that motivated me to become an ambassador and help educate others to hopefully save lives.
Doctor, for people hearing about lipoprotein A, am I getting that right for the first time? I know I am. Why is it so dangerous, and how should they be thinking about it?
Well, firstly, it's important to know that it's a genetic type of cholesterol. That means it's passed down in families. And as Chuck said, it's not part of the normal cholesterol panel. So you have to specifically ask for LP little a in order to have that tested. We consider it a risk factor for cardiovascular disease because high LP little a levels are associated with increased risk of heart attacks, strokes, and certain types of valve heart disease. So it really is important that you're talking to your clinician about this risk factor to find out if you have it, you need to undergo testing.
And when should you be talking with your doctor? At what age? I mean, Chuck, I saw some photos we were just showing of you and your family. It looks like you got some children. Are they going to be having these conversations with their doctors at some point?
Absolutely. We've actually had my children tested. My son does have the elevated lipoprotein A. He's 19. His isn't as high as mine, which is a good thing, but it's still at the level where he's going to have to be aware of this going forward. So we've talked about the things he could do to help reduce his risk. And hopefully at some point in the near future, there's going to be some treatment drugs available that can help control it.
Yeah, doctor, same question to you. Who should be getting screened right now, and how should they be going about doing that?
Well, every adult should be screened. So anyone over the age of 18, hence why Chuck's son got tested, should undergo testing. And it's a simple blood test. So you can either ask your clinician to do the test for you or order the test for you, or you can go to the Family Heart Foundation website and they can mail you a free testing kit. It's important to undergo testing because it's very common. 1 in 5 individuals, or 20% of the population, has high lipoprotein A, but less than 1% of individuals is aware of that.
A breakthrough out of the University of Georgia could change how we protect sea turtles worldwide. Scientists have finally found a way to track male sea turtles using DNA from a single egg. And this helps solve a major mystery that's limited conservation for decades, and now it could also help save the species. Joining us now to talk all about it is Dr. Brian Shamblin, an associate research scientist at UGA's School of Forestry and Natural Resources. Dr. Shamblin, great to have you on this morning. So this is a pretty big deal. Is it fair to say until now we've basically been guessing when it comes to these male sea turtles?
There have been a lot of really important studies done with the males, but it's been really focused on individual males. We're missing a lot of the population level aspects of the male demographics. So this is a really big step forward for us, I think.
It is, and we talked about that one egg. So how does a tiny egg unlock the identity of a turtle that we've never even seen, perhaps?
So it turns out, though, the sperm that didn't quite make it to fertilize that egg get trapped in the yolk membrane of the egg. So that thing that breaks when you're trying to fry eggs and your yolk runs everywhere, that membrane actually traps a lot of the sperm. So we can use the DNA in those sperm to tell how many dads were involved in that particular set of eggs.
Fascinating. So when you tell people about this, that you can find the father from that tiny egg, what do most people say? Is it hard to believe?
I think a lot of people are incredulous. We honestly were at first too. It's not a new idea. They tried it in birds about 25 years ago. It didn't work particularly well. We're not sure why it's working in the sea turtles, but we're just really happy that it does work.
Mm-hmm. You know, for a lot of people watching at home, they're saying, okay, why does this matter? Why does this research even matter? So what does this have to do with saving sea turtles overall in our broader ecosystem?
Well, sea turtles have environmental sex determination. So the warmer the nests get, the more females are produced. So the concern now is there could be a complete lack of male production. And obviously without the males, we don't have a population.
Okay, so Georgia's coast, if people don't know, is a major nesting ground for these sea turtles. What are you seeing right here in our area right now?
Well, we don't know. That's the question. It's a concern, but we don't have any good data. So that's why we're really interested in scaling this technique up on the Georgia coast, starting with this nesting season.
Mm-hmm. And if we don't solve the problem, and if we don't know long term, what do you think this looks like for sea turtles in terms of maybe a worst case scenario?
There are places like the Northern Great Barrier Reef, Rain Island, green turtles nesting there. Basically, no males have been produced in the last 20 years, so that's a problem. There are things we can do as humans to help the sea turtles figure this out, like assisted migration, where we can move eggs to new areas and basically start new populations. But that's not something that most people want to tackle without knowing that we have a really major problem.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we're at a more of a tipping point than most people might realize?
I'm not sure yet. I think the turtles have been around for millions of years. They figured this out in the past. We are obviously throwing some wrenches in the system as humans, but I think we need data before we get, too concerned.
Yeah, still collecting this data, still very new in your research. But let's say we fast forward 5 years or so from now. Where do you think we could be, and what do you hope this research does or changes?
I'm really interested to see particularly where mating is occurring, because it could be in certain hotspots that we need to keep a better eye on. The mating's happening in a really narrow window of time, so it would be really easy for us to help protect those mating grounds if we knew exactly where they were.
Mm-hmm. And so how long have you all been doing the research here, by the way?
We've been tracking the females with the eggs since 2008 on the Georgia coast, but this will be the first year to really do it for the males.
Well, March Madness is shining a spotlight on college basketball's biggest stars and the growing world of NIL deals. So to help put this movement into context, we're joined this morning by Trey Chapman, a wealth advisor with Truist Wealth. And Trey works with student athletes and their families as they navigate a lot of these NIL opportunities. Trey, good morning. Great to have you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's nice to have you because you're truly an expert here. I know you're a former D1 athlete yourself. Just give us a little background on you, and was NIL around when you were playing ball?
No, it was not. I wish it was, but I'm a former D1 athlete myself. I played at Virginia Military Institute several years ago now, and so I've been excited to see the growth of college athletics over the last X amount of years, and just the development in this NIL world, and happy I can be helpful to these young athletes each and every day.
Yeah, it's wild how much has changed in just a few short years. Do you find that families are prepared for this moment when they come into your office to talk about NIL?
No, I think there is a lot of information that they receive coming in, but it can all be a little bit overwhelming. A lot of the families are hear different rumors or see different things online. And so a lot of my job is to start with unpacking some of those rumors that they receive, and then just kind of developing a guideline and developing a plan around, how we want to move forward.
Can you give me an example of one of those rumors that is rampant online and how you dispel it?
Yeah. Big example of rumors are really around taxes, right? What do you need? What can you write off? What can you deduct? How do you save on taxes? And so a lot of what conversations that we are having are, let's develop a plan. Let's start there. Let's talk about what that money means, understanding, hey, this is self-employed income. Taxes are not taken out when you receive the income. And this is shocking for a lot of student athletes and their families. I think we forget that this is a lot of athletes' first time receiving income, right? They probably weren't like, a lot of high school students that had jobs in high school where they were receiving paychecks. This is very new for them and their families. And so because of it, it's a lot of just education that goes along each and every day.
Yeah, I think back to, my high school jobs when I was waiting tables at the seafood restaurant, making like $2.16 an hour. I'd walk away, if I'm lucky, with like $50 in tips each night. So I was able to make money mistakes with a small amount of money that I was earning. But now we're talking about high schoolers who are suddenly walking into tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Are you seeing they're making mistakes with their money?
Definitely. And everyone does. Making mistakes is normal. And so I think it's just the opportunity to, one, learn from these mistakes early on. We oftentimes forget that maybe a year or two ago, these people were in high school, these young student athletes, and then quickly they get to a situation to where they may now be the breadwinner for their families. They may now be the key support systems for the people around them each and every day. And so because of it, it's a lot of pressure that comes with it as well. And so, with pressure, mistakes often happen. It's just trying to limit those mistakes, trying to learn from them quickly and on the fly, and understanding that, hey, this is an opportunity to get practical education each and every day based on your situation. So, yes, mistakes are normal, but if we can limit them and grow from them, I think we can go a long way.
So if everything's kind of based on their situation, I guess you would say it's really not a one-size-fits-all approach here. Why is that? And what do you recommend folks do when they find themselves in this situation?
Yeah, not at all. Everybody's dynamic is different, right? Whether it's family dynamic, their relationship with money might be different. And so, because of it, there's definitely not a one size fit all, you know, one size fits all resolution, right? Um, I think the key is understanding how to develop a process. Um, and that's where to start, kind of build those kind of day to day habits, day in and day out, around your finances. And then from there, just understanding your situation and being able to develop goals, right? Everyone is going to have different goals, whether it is, supporting your family, whether it is, saving money long term, or, for later down the road. And so once we can establish those goals, we can develop a process and a plan around how to accomplish what we set out to do. And then we can, build around that and provide for whatever our situation is independently.
What do you think is the smartest thing a young athlete can do with that very first NIL check they get?
I think the very first thing they should do is put money to the side for taxes. The government is going to want to get its cut, right? The income you receive is not taxed right away. And so number one is put money to the side and begin to save and plan there. From there is just understanding, like I said before, your situation. And depending on what your situation is, it might be help mom or dad out. It might be save money for whatever's next in life, or save money long term, and beginning to begin to really just put yourself in a situation to where this opportunity can help you today, but also help you later in life.
Trey, you've given some great advice today to families and athletes. I'm wondering if you also have any advice for lawmakers out there, like in Georgia right now, the House and the Senate currently in session, and lawmakers nationwide really trying to figure out whether any guardrails need to be put in place when it comes to name, image, and likeness. Any advice you have for how lawmakers should be thinking about this unprecedented territory we find ourselves?
I think, just with the different changes you see kind of at the White House and state to state, I think things are just going to continue to evolve and change just as the opportunity set grows for student athletes, and as the dollar amounts continue to grow. But I think one thing the conversation that we have with our clients is that the media issue isn't politics, right? The money is here now. The money is, coming in today. So we need to understand taxes. We need to understand how to manage our cash flow, and develop a plan around, after our sport and later in life.
Data centers, the growing, burgeoning industry that has taken root here in Georgia as one of the quickly becoming preeminent locations around the country for these data centers that power and really provide the technological backbone of this growing AI industry that is touching so much of our daily lives now. We want to bring in Connie DeSico, who is the legislative director at Georgia Conservation Voters. Connie, I know you and your organization are paying close attention to the data and the data center industry, and some legislation making its way through the state capitol, correct?
Yes, thank you for having me. Yes, we are. We're watching this every single day.
And Connie, for folks who may not be totally familiar, what is the position of the Georgia Conservation Voters on data centers and on them coming to Georgia?
I'm glad you asked. Georgia Conservation Voters, we're not against data centers. We would like for data centers to be good neighbors. I mean, I do think that there's a way for data centers to help Georgia grow and participate in our economic growth here. We like to say that Georgia is open for business. There's a great way for data centers to participate in that growth and make it sustainable, even clean, and to participate and give back to our communities here.
I sense there is maybe a but at the end of that sentence somewhere, though.
I have been saying for a while now that Georgians need to value Georgia in the same way that the data centers seem to be doing. We have a lot to offer here, and we don't really need to be giving this away for free. And we do this a lot, particularly with this industry. We have been giving away a lot to $1 billion corporate industry. And we don't need to be doing that. We have tax incentives to this industry that total $2.5 billion a year right now. Studies have shown, audits have shown that 70% of these data centers would have come without these tax incentives. They use tremendous amounts of water and energy. And this is at a time when a lot of Georgians are looking at their own bills and they are having a hard time making their own ends meet. And these are also industries that we pay for their services. So we are subsidizing them in a multitude of ways that we don't really need to be doing. And I think that's the crux of the but that you're asking about. Georgia is a tremendous place. A lot of industries come here. We don't necessarily need to be giving away things.
Connie, let me ask you two questions here. I appreciate your answer. One about sort of the economics of this ongoing conversation, and another about the environmental aspects of the conversation. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are sort of the two key pillars, or some of the key pillars of this conversation we've seen playing out at the state capitol, at local planning and zoning boards across the state. This is something that a lot of people are paying attention to. I want to ask you first about the environmental concerns that you raised, others have raised. I have also spoken with folks within the data center industry, and they argue that they, as an industry, have an economic incentive to make their data centers as environmentally efficient as possible. It just, they say, makes good business for them to be as efficient with the inputs that they're using, including power and water and other sources of energy. To those folks in the data center industry who say they're doing all they can to be good stewards and they're getting better and better, what would you say to them?
They are getting better and better, and that's part of the technology. I think transparency is the key here. And a lot of it needs to begin with the transparency, and we do need to know about the water and the energy. When you have a lot of them, that translates to grid resiliency. And that is also another piece that we also have to be keeping in mind. There's another larger piece to this too, which is the projections that are just within the next 5 years. And this has to do with Georgia Power asking for the 10 gigawatts, so 10,000 megawatts for this projected growth, the majority of which is for the data centers. That's the energy burden that we are talking about. And that folds back into making things more resilient, the transparency part of all of this, and where, if all of those contracts go unfulfilled, where does that energy burden land? It lands mostly on the ratepayers and not the data centers themselves. But to your point about all of these natural resources, to fulfill those contracts and that projection that Georgia Power is asking about, it requires bringing on more fossil fuels and things like coal plants that we were going to retire. That is a massive projection. And those natural resources, we had thought we had retired those. So those are now going to come back online. And I think that's a very big concern for organizations like ours.
Connie, we're a little short on time, but I do want to make sure I get to ask you these last two questions here. We talked about the environmental aspect of the conversation. Let's talk about the money. You've taken issue with some of the economic incentives and the tax incentives that have been given to the data center industry. Legislators, lawmakers, many times when they are voting for these kinds of tax incentives, they argue that those incentives bring jobs to local economies across the state and they boost economic development. And that reasoning, they say, makes the tax incentives worth it. What would you say to those lawmakers?
The devil's in the details. These are typically industries that bring less than a McDonald's in terms of jobs. They are buildings that don't house that many jobs once they're built. They do require a lot of construction up front. That might be 300 jobs, 500 jobs, but that's only to build them. And then after that, they really require very little maintenance or jobs once they're built.
Connie, this is maybe a tricky question to answer in 60 seconds, but we're up against a hard clock here. If you can wave the magic wand under the Gold Dome and get the lawmakers under the Gold Dome to pass legislation that would be the ideal legislation for Georgia conservation voters to address data centers, what would it look like?
Ratepayer protections that make the causers pay for what they're causing, that's something that would give so many Georgians a lot of assurance for these build outs, and also transparency. That's foundational for a lot of environmental work and tells us what we can expect and gives you that starts statewide collaboration for a lot of the work that follows after this. And I think that is those two things working together really give you a good start for going forward.
Braves Vision will air pregame, postgame, and live game telecasts across Braves country. Who better to join us this morning to talk more about it? Newly launched Braves Vision game analyst, CJ Nikowski. CJ, good morning, sir. Great to have you.
Morning, Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I think we're all doing better knowing it's almost baseball season. Braves opening day coming up Friday, and a new way for folks to watch the games. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so Braves Vision is something I think the Braves have been anticipating for a while. I think we all thought at some point the Braves were going to launch their own network. It just got here a little bit quicker maybe than expected, and so it's been somewhat of a scramble to get it done. At the end of the day, when we cross the finish line here, Braves country is going to be very happy with the product that they have, the access that they have to Braves baseball, both on the streaming side and the cable side, and even some of the over-air options that we are going to see throughout the season. This is what everybody has ultimately wanted, and that was the Braves bringing their television programming and production in-house. It's just, again, they've had to scramble, and these folks deserve a lot of credit for the work that they've done to try to get it done. I know that people are waiting. You mentioned the one distribution deal with Spectrum, and there'll be a lot more coming, and everybody will know where they can watch their Braves soon enough, but it has been a lot of work to make it happen.
You know, you mentioned Braves country. I'm curious to know how wide-reaching this is. Growing up in Chattanooga, I mean, we were certainly in Braves country. It was always, trying to scan the channels, trying to find the Braves games. But I mean, how many states does this spread across for folks who can watch?
So I believe it is 7 total states that you get here. I don't have the exact number or the exact map in what it looks like, but we know that we have one of the biggest distribution areas in all of Major League Baseball. It goes back to somewhat of the TBS days and just how big of an area that the Braves actually own. But the good news is it doesn't matter where you live. And that's the good news about the Braves streaming, Braves.tv, where you can watch games, first of all, in market with 0 blackouts. But if you're out of market, somehow you ended up in Seattle, Washington, and you're a huge Braves fan, you can watch Braves TV there as well. So you'll be able to get Braves Vision's broadcast with Brandon Gaud and myself, Jeff Francoeur, the entire group, Wiley Ballard, anywhere in the country. And you can do it via streaming, and it's really affordable. They've done a nice job with the pricing on this as well. But if you're looking for a television channel to turn to do it on cable, or as I mentioned, over the air, I believe the number is 7 different states that we reach.
Okay, great. So you got the streaming options, you got the linear options out there. How is this streaming broadcast going to look different from what folks are used to in the past?
Well, the big one is I think it's going to be on a much more consistent platform. And again, without the blackouts locally, right? Again, if you're in market, it's always been an issue. Now, it can be a little bit confusing, and I understand why. I'm one who has to explain it to my 80-year-old mother once in a while as well. There will be games that you don't see on Braves Vision, and those are going to be the national games. And that goes for everybody, whether it's linear or whether it's streaming. Up to 18 games national can take away exclusively. That's ESPN, that's NBC, that's Fox, that's Apple. And because the Braves are a really good team and they're a highly sought after team on these national games, we almost always lose all 18. I think it'll be 16 so far up to now, but I think we'll probably lose those last 2 as well. So that means 144 games that you can get without blackouts when you're streaming. A lot of different ways to do that now as far as what devices you use. If you are out of market, and kind of using that Seattle example again, I know it's kind of an extreme one, but if you had Braves TV on the streaming side, the only games that you would ever lose would be when the Braves are in that Seattle market. And this year, that's only 3 games. And pretty much every year, it's only 3 games because they're an American League team. So that's the only Braves games you wouldn't get. Other than that, you're going to get every other Braves game. They're going to look just like the ones that are on the television. It is the same exact broadcast, and this is something the club is very excited about.
All right, CJ, let's talk about the game coming up Friday night against the Royals. Home opener. I mean, first one in a few years we've had, right? What are some of the big storylines you're watching for the broadcast come Friday?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things. Obviously, this is the most important part, and that is the players that are in the uniform and the entertainment and the excitement that they provide. Let's start with the offense. I think that is a really big one. Ronald Acuna Jr. is healthy. He's going to be the leadoff hitter again for the Atlanta Braves. We know the kind of excitement that he brings on both sides of the baseball. He had a really good spring. He had a very exciting WBC. Team Venezuela ended up winning it all. So Ronald is riding a high right now. He is also ultra motivated to have a big season, right? He missed a lot of time last year. He's a couple of years removed from that great version of Ronald Acuna Jr. because of some of the injuries that have gotten in the way. He is fully healthy. He is ready to kick things off. But you start kind of going up and down the line offensively. The Braves are very excited about what they have put together. Drake Baldwin won the National League Rookie of the Year last year. Sounds like he's going to be batting second. Matt Olson looks really good. Austin Riley has been healthy so far here in spring training. Mike Yastrzemski's a big add for the Braves. There's a lot of good things going on. I know people start thinking about 2023 and how great and how historic this offense was. That's probably asking a lot to get to that level, but there is a lot of reason to be optimistic and excited about where this offense is right now.
Well, I'm glad you laid out the reasons for optimism, because I also have to ask you about some of the injuries to the pitching staff. And as a former pitcher yourself, I mean, just tell me put that in perspective when it comes to what that does to the rotation.
Yeah, unfortunately, injuries have been an issue, and it was an issue last year. And the Braves had to try to find a way to fight through it. If you remember, every pitcher that was in that opening day starting rotation at one point last year went on the IL. This year, before we even get to opening day, it's Spencer Schwellenbach, it's Hurston Waldrop, it's Joey Wentz, and now it's Spencer Strider. Those are a lot of significant pieces that are not going to be ready to start the season. In the meantime, and you hear Walt Weiss and others say this a lot, it's the kind of next man up mentality. Ronaldo Lopez was not healthy last year. He made one start. He is back. He is healthy. He's in the rotation. We lost Grant Holmes for a little while to an injury. He is back and healthy and in the rotation right now. Chris Sale looked phenomenal in spring training. There's a couple of young guys, and we'll see ultimately who ends up helping out at the very back end of the rotation. Bryce Elder, Jose Suarez will be in that mix, and there's a couple of prospects as well that I think you can get excited about that are probably going to help at some point. There's no getting around it. I mean, there is some significant injuries right now in the starting rotation. And if you sit there and kind of look at the three components of a team, at least the big parts, right? It's the offense, it's the starting rotation, and it is the bullpen. You'd love to have all three going on all cylinders at all times. That's usually not a reality. So in the meantime, why the rotation is down a little bit, and they are significant. We don't hide from the fact that these injuries are a big deal. You're looking for then the other parts of the team to pick you up. Offensively, I think that absolutely can happen. The bullpen is in a really good place. They'll probably take on more innings early on because of some of these injuries, but they're built to do it. That's the way that you win ball games and you overcome some of these injuries in the rotation.
Next week in Atlanta, we'll have a chance to celebrate all things ATL, our culture, our city's community, and that iconic 404 identity. It's all a part of 404 Day Weekend. It will run next Wednesday through Saturday, April 1st through 4th, with events happening all across the city. Of course, the biggest day, of course, will be 404, Saturday the 4th. It'll include the parade downtown that starts in the morning at 10 and a full day of festival activity at Piedmont Park. Let's look at all that 404 Day has to offer with the organizers here joining us this morning. The 404 Collective, we've got Brandon Butler, Bam Sparks, and Bame Joyner. Glad to have all of you here this morning.
Man, thanks for having us, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to be here. So, Brandon, this all started as sort of an unofficial celebration years ago. Now this is a bona fide full weekend of activities.
Yeah, you know, it was kind of 404 Day was one of those unofficial things for a long time. But, you know, we got together with the rest of the guys here in the 404 Collective and came together as four black-owned companies here in Atlanta to start doing something special for the city, and now it's taken off.
Yeah, so there's a lot of events happening next week. We're all excited about it, including a scholarship gala. I'll be a part of that. I'm excited about it. And what's really special, guys, is that it's not just about raising the money and making money, but you're pouring it right back into the community.
Yes, sir. We're making sure that we're giving out scholarships to the AUC, also providing food for food insecurities in the neighborhoods. And, yeah, we're always giving back, specifically on the west side of Atlanta.
Yeah, it's great to see it. And you guys all have really deep roots here in Atlanta. And the parade, of course, is one of the big highlights. I believe we have some video from last year's parade. A lot of people came out. Traffic has been crazy here in Atlanta for the last few weekends, but y'all are going to shut down Peachtree.
Yes, sir.
So how's this going to work?
Man, look, really excited. We're shutting down Peachtree Street for the second annual 404 Day Parade. It's happening at 10 a.m. right down Peachtree Street. We end at Underground Atlanta for a huge block party. We've got over 75 groups signed up, over 4,000 people scheduled to walk. We got some surprises coming for some grand marshals and some other things. So you got to get out there, man. You got to have a parade in Atlanta to celebrate Atlanta, and this is the perfect way to do it. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, we're also excited about the 5K. This is our first time doing it. We're going to run in the underground, end at underground, kick off the block party, so it's going to be a great time.
And this is free for the most part, other than the scholarship gala. You can bring your family, and this is at no cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's a lot of 404-day events going around, but let's be clear. All this stuff is on 404weekend.com, and all our events are free and open to the public. The block party is family friendly. We do have a couple of events that are 21 and up, but everything's on 404weekend.com. And again, besides the scholarship gala, which we give back, everything is free. We just want everybody to come out and celebrate Atlanta.
All right, you guys love Atlanta. I love Atlanta. Butter ATL, we got the Trap Museum, we've got all the kind of collective here. What do you all love most about our city? You know, a lot of people talk about Atlanta not being this real place, and we see all these different, sort of feelings about Atlanta, but those who know the culture know the culture. What would you say you love most about 404?
I would say it's the collaboration, it's community. So we came together to show people that we can be together and bring these black businesses together and operate as in unity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, I always got to kind of quote my man Bain right here from Atlanta Influences Everything. A lot of people don't realize that April 4th was the day Martin Luther King was assassinated. And so like on the most Atlanta day ever, Atlanta lost its, favorite son. And so I think what we're doing right now just shows people kind of coming together and collaborating. And again, for me, the parade is a perfect example of that, right? Like how hard would it be to do a parade in New York, LA, Chicago? The fact that we're able to partner with the city, bring all these organizations out, and everybody comes together is a real testament to what Atlanta is.
Yeah, so a lot of new activities this year. Like you said, the 5K, the scholarship gala, we've got the parade. Anything else people need to know about the weekend?
I'll probably say the night party at Stave Room is going to be amazing, and the after party at Formula One for the gala is also going to be great.
And Friday, too, don't forget, we've got a whole list of programming happening on Friday, too. So this, again, 404 day can't fit into a single day. We made it a whole weekend. So yeah. Friday, we're doing an ATL takeover. We're doing an event at Midtown Social from 2 to 6. We're also doing something at the new rooftop for the retreat that evening. And then we got some more stuff going on. So literally every day is packed, starting from the 1st all the way to the 4th.
Retirement not looking the way it used to. A new Fidelity study finds that more Americans, about 70%, are rethinking the traditional work until 65 and stop model. Joining us now to talk more about it is the Vice President of Retirement Offerings at Fidelity Investments, Rita Ossoff. Rita, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity.
So let's start with that big headline from your study. Some 7 in 10 Americans kind of rethinking traditional retirement. What does that look like?
Well, our study found that Americans aren't just redefining what it means to retire, but embracing a different approach to retiring. So instead of a hard stop in their career, more people are designing a flexible next chapter. And what that looks like is they're either phasing down work, they're turning a passion into a small business, or they're just finding part-time work to help make for a gradual transition into retirement. And as you said, nearly 70% of Americans say they're considering a non-traditional path like this. And 72% say they feel confident that they'll be able to retire on their own terms, in part because of this phased approach, but also because they have a plan to reach their retirement goals.
So why do you think we're seeing this shift? Is it people having the opportunity to stay more active and the desire to stay more active, or is this purely like financial reasons?
I'd say both. So there have been some considerations where longevity comes in. So retirement in some cases can last for almost 30 years. So people are really redefining what that era looks like for them. And so understanding what that looks like in terms of having a phased approach, maybe trying something completely different work-wise, that allows you to continue to get that social stimulation, your purpose, but also some income so that you don't actually have to draw down from your savings like you would if you fully retire. I would say, secondly, day-to-day expenses continue to be top of mind. Our study found that the rising cost of living remains a major competing priority while saving for retirement. And about one half say it limits their ability to save. So that's also why we're seeing so many people ease into their retirement. It lets them keep earning income while still experiencing their goal to retire.
Are you finding that these folks also putting off maybe collecting Social Security?
That might be one method as well. So it's one way, and as you know, the later you claim Social Security, the bigger your payments will be. So that is one option as well. But, retirement doesn't mean your day-to-day expenses go away. And that's where the phased approach comes in. And so what does that look like? You could be asking your employer about fewer hours, freelancing, doing contract work. Some people find something completely different, and it allows them to enjoy something else in their sort of encore era, but also allowing them to have that income as well.
Did your study also look at how Americans are contributing to their 401ks right now? Are we making any progress in that regard? And what kind of advice do you have to people who are still working and looking to contribute to their 401ks?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, our study didn't address that directly, but we do gather data on a quarterly basis of how Fidelity clients save in both their 401ks and IRAs. And for our last quarter, encouragingly, people are still saving. Balances are up across 401ks and IRAs, and we actually saw an increase in both 401k savings as well as IRA savings. So the good news is people are still saving for the long term. So I would say continue to save while you can. I know it can be difficult right now, but especially in a 401k, make sure you try to save up until your employer match if possible, because that is free money on the table. And then continue to increase where it makes sense, like if you have a salary increase, because it is automatic. So it's sort of top of mind and out of mind once you set that up.
All right, Rita, do you think this is going to be a trend we continue to see, as affordability is such a huge issue in our nation right now? Who knows what's going to happen with inflation as gas prices continue to go higher? Is this a study you guys do every year, and do you expect to see more Americans maybe rethinking traditional retirement here on out?
It is a study that we do almost every year. I would say it is a trend, and it's not just driven by the day-to-day expenses. It really is. People are looking to redefine what that next phase looks like. We're joking around even within my team of, well, what do you want to do when you retire as a job? For some, it could just be, I'm going to go work in an antique shop, right? And have some fun and some social stimulation. So I think it's a trend that will continue, both out of necessity, but also out of just purpose and social stimulation. And so it'll be interesting to continue to watch that trend. And I'm personally encouraged by it. It's a different way of what we've considered retirement to be.